Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Permatasari from class F wanna present my material about gender analysis in English textbook. There are 6 material that I will explain. It's defining textbook, defining gender, gender roles, gender and education, gender issues in EFL textbook, and gender and stereotype. The first is defining textbook. Textbook or course book is one kind of teaching media in the school. It's really necessary for supporting the teaching and learning process. Although now is a modern era when everything use electronic media and internet as the main resource, it cannot be rejected that the use of textbook is still needed. In school, the aims or the objectives of learning have been arranged systematically which are suitable with the learner's need. For gaining those aims, it's needed the concrete resource, and for that, a textbook plays a role in that case. Defining gender. Gender is the socially constructed difference between men and women. According to Connell, there are different ideals for women and men. Bodily differences and social effects are often linked through the idea of character dichotomy. These gender differences are established through oppositions. As Connell states, women are supposed to be nurturing, suggestible, talkative, emotional, intuitive, and sexually loyal, while men, on the other hand, are supposed to be aggressive, truth-minded, rational, analytic, and promiscuous. In this context, an important notion is what Connell refers to as the sex role. Gender roles. Gender is defined as socially determined ideas and practice of what it's to be female or male. Reeves and Baden, 2000. Gender roles shape different kinds of feeling, consciousness, relationships, skill, ways of being that can be labeled as feminine or masculine. Blackstone and Lorber, 2003. Gender roles, according to Blackstone, 2003 and Lorber, 2003, are closely intertwined with cultural and the different levels of power that males and females hold in society form, which a set idea about appropriate gender behaviors that govern the lives of males and females are constructed accordingly. Gender and education. The role of gender in schools and how it has affected the students' goal fulfillment has been very much discussed in numerous texts and theories. The feminist psychoanalyst Nancy Cordero claims in Gender by Connell that boys strive to break the relationship from their mother and female teacher in order to define a masculine identity. Gender issues in EFL textbook. In some research on the topic of gender representation in EFL textbooks, had noted issues such as the number of males and females, occurrences in teaching materials, male firstness, noun and pronoun system, and discourse of gender roles. Sunderland, 19 and 94, Dominguez, 2003, Stockdale, 2006, Mineshima, 2008. In Hartman and Jude's research state that such automatization might encourage the positioning of women to be the second class in the society. For example, the naming of he or she, where he always comes first, or Mr. and Mrs. Gender and stereotype. First concept of stereotype. Stereotype is the general view or the preconception about the attributes or characteristics that should be possessed by something or members of a particular social group. It means that stereotype is a simplistic idea about attributes or characteristics possessed by something. Stereotypes can happen if it ascribes characteristics to an individual based solely on group membership. Concept of gender stereotypes. Darren outlined that gender stereotypes are the stereotypes concerning the traits possessed by females and males and thus distinguish the two genders from each other. It's like gender stereotype is more concerned about the overgeneralization idea about the gender traits that makes them to be easy to be differentiated. Further, gender stereotype is defined as the overgeneralization or simplistic idea about the gender role. It can happen when there is one gender between male or female treats unfairly and feels discriminated. Moreover, Esmer and Boca and Swan et al. Define gender stereotypes very broadly as structured sets of beliefs about the personal attributes of women and men, and these beliefs were assumed to include pictorial, behavioral, and affective components. It can be implied that gender stereotypes is a belief about gender's personal attribute that will affect the gender itself in taking an attitude, taking an appearance, and taking an action in doing something. Okay, that's about my material. Thank you so much for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.